Awakened Radio Network is brought to you by our sponsors. Visit and let them know you heard about them here on the Awakened Radio Network. Do you have health and medical problems the regular medical system cannot seem to figure out how to fix? If the answer is yes, then check out rifeenergymedicine.com. That is Rife spelled R-I-F-E. rifeenergymedicine.com for a new way to approach many of your health problems. rifeenergymedicine.com. Are you looking for a fun and easy and productive way to promote and advertise your personally owned business? If so, the Awakened Radio Network just might have the solution for you. Visit awakenedradio.net and look up under our products and services tabs, or add Awakened Radio to your Skype contact and send Donna Devane, the station owner, a message. Or you can add DonnaDevane@gmail.com to your email contacts and send Donna an email letting her know that you would like to set a time to go over how to advertise your business in a way that makes getting sales easy without the struggle and a whole lot of fun. Do you have a message, something that just burns within you that you couldn't stop talking about even if someone offered to pay you to? Well, you just might be the type of host that we're looking for here on the Awakened Radio Network. Add Awakened Radio to your Skype contacts or send Donna Devane, the station owner, a message, DonnaDevane@gmail.com. And let's set up a time to talk and see if you and Awakened Radio Network are on the same consciousness wavelength. We might can work together and provide a win-win where your message goes out on our airwaves, reaching our global listeners, bringing fun, self-growth, and a whole lot of excitement to both your life and the Awakened Radio family.
Welcome to Simply Conversations. This show airs every Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, and 6 Pacific. Each week we'll have a new conversation exploring the life of a person who began to listen to his or her heart. Join us as we open the door for these uplifting and courageous people. Whether they are young, old, or somewhere in between, their work has helped to transform their lives and it ultimately helps to support, heal, and grow their communities. Listen to our discussion and be inspired as you hear about life-changing and transforming stories. Be part of our conversation. Feel free to take part in our chat room or on the phone. Ask questions and chat with our guests. This show is brought to you by simplyconversations.com. Hello everyone, welcome to Simply Conversations. I'm Rob Ragazine. Thanks for joining us. It's November 3rd, 2013, 9 p.m. East. Please join us in the chat room at awakenedradio.net and click on the live chat tab, or join us on the air by adding Awakened Radio to your Skype or dialing 334-649-7204 if you have a question for our guest tonight. And this week, it's Tracie Nichols. Come gather with us in our conversation as we open the door for Tracie. She's a mentor, facilitator, poet, writer, speaker, and advocate and change maker. She's dedicated to helping those who've survived and mounted difficulties in their lives to find the joy and laughter once again. Tracie offers ongoing individual mentoring sessions tailored to you with a strong focus on helping you to feel connected, confident, and empowered so that you're fully able to reach your goals and stand on your own. Welcome, Tracie. How are you tonight?
I'm good, Rob. How are you doing?
I'm well. Thanks for coming on. It takes a lot of courage to come on the radio, so thank you for taking your time to come on and talk with us tonight.
Oh, no, I love it. I love good conversations, so this is just perfect.
Well, let's dive in and talk about some of the things that you talk about. I'm especially interested, Tracy, in the healing power of story and how you work with it. We hear about that all the time, but we don't often get a chance to see how we can work with it as an individual.
Right. Well, I think there's sort of two perspectives on it. There's telling the story side, and then there's sort of what you can do with the story once you have begun to tell it. So, well, I guess there's three, because then there's also being witness to someone else's story, which can be tremendously healing for them and for you. So one of the things that is really powerful or potent about the power of story is when you allow yourself to speak or to write your own story, you begin to own it. And so often if we've had a traumatic or a really difficult experience in life, we sort of tend to separate from it, and we don't necessarily see ourselves, as being a part of our life, or at least, that particular bit of it. So when you begin to really own that story, to see yourself, through the eyes of being a participant in the story, but also being the author of the story, that can be a really significant thing. And one of the things that happens most often, what I see is people will tell their story as if they're kind of at the mercy of their story. But after a while, you begin to be able to tell the story as if you have the opportunity to be the author of the story. So once you are the author of your own story, that completely shifts the power base. It shifts your own perspective on the resources you have, on the opportunities you have. So for me, that's one of the really powerful things about story, which leads into what can you do with it, which is, in some cases, it can be helpful to sort of rewrite your story or rewrite the ending of your story or write your story into where you want to go next, which gives you a roadmap. It lets you dream a little bit because, again, sometimes when we've had a really traumatic experience, we stop dreaming or we're not connected to our dreams. So if you can fire that back up, that just brings so much more joy into your life and opens you to possibility. And then there's just the healing power of witnessing someone telling their story. You don't necessarily need to do anything, just witnessing, just allowing them to speak, what has happened to them or what they've experienced or how they felt about it can be one of the most powerfully healing things to do for another human being.
That's great. Now, Tracy, you're talking about connecting to your body, and I know you talk about connecting to nature. So how can we start to do that? How can we allow ourselves to both connect to our bodies and connect to nature? To recognize the healing, as you say, the healing power of place.
Yeah, the healing power of place. Well, for me, connecting with my body came through connecting with nature. So there was a moment when I allowed my senses, so the senses we all think about, sight and sound and taste and touch and scent. And I began to open up those senses and experience the natural world, because the natural world was a place where I felt safe. It was a place that felt like home to me. And so as I began to open up my senses, I began to realize when you open up this sense of touch, all of a sudden you become aware of, the feeling of sunlight on you, or, how the breeze feels as it's touching your face, or, the solidity and stability of the earth that you're sitting on. So when your senses come awake, your body becomes more apparent to you. And so you are simultaneously connecting with nature and also connecting, into your body. And the more connected you are to your body, the more present you are, the more embodied. So it's a cycle, connecting with your body deliberately through movement, through yoga, through meditation, through guided visualization, through exercise can lead you into connecting deeply into nature, because then you're aware of how the air affects you. When you're breathing it in, you're aware of the feeling of temperature on your skin. Again, you're moved back into a cycle of more presence with both nature and with your body. So I don't know how you do that, but for me, it becomes a self-perpetuating cycle of connecting into the body. It becomes important to connecting in with nature and revolving around.
So, Tracy, it's more about connecting to the body, to our body, in the moment, to be in the moment.
Absolutely. So it's very much mindfulness based, in a sense. And I think that, again, our lives, our experiences, so many things pull us out of the moment. And being in the moment and opening yourself up to what's happening in your body, and then just expanding your awareness into what's happening in your environment. What are you sensing from the natural world, can be really fascinating, because you begin to get a sense of, oh, okay, so this is what's happening in my body. With me, it's usually, oh, wow, my shoulder hurts that much. Maybe I should adjust my position or stop using the computer so often. Then you also expand outward, and then you become aware of, wow, that there's a sense of peace coming from this tree, or wow, look at the vibrancy of those flowers, or what is the wind doing, and how cleansing it can feel to have it move through you.
Tracy, that reminds me of connecting to the stories that we've heard all along. It's just be outside, just be in nature. And we kind of dismissed those. Our grandparents knew, you feel bad, go outside.
Absolutely. It's I think it's fascinating. There's there's actually people doing research now into whether or not being in nature actually is helpful, which I think is kind of funny, but it's sort of wonderful at the same time, because people who really need science to allow them to tap into something or to accept it as a resource, will get that validation. But it is kind of funny, and I wrote a blog post a while back about how we can't be in nature, and I was kind of ranting a little bit, because from my perspective, we are nature. So, I'm as much nature as as the trees, or as the birds, or as the stream or the ocean. And so the idea that we're somehow, when we're in nature, we're sort of walking into another room of our house and we're occupying space. I like to turn on its head and say, what you're doing is just kind of moving into the body of of the larger organism that you're part of.
It's a part of us. We're a part of it.
Exactly. So imagine yourself as kind of like a little blood cell floating around through the the earth. I don't know. It makes more sense to me to think of it as an integral whole.
And we're disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
Many of us are disconnected, and you were mentioning, Tracy, the news and research that's coming out of it. Like all of a sudden, now people know, oh, it's good to walk barefoot, or
right.
It's good to just go breathe outside. Okay.
Right. Yes, but you're right. That for a long time people understood that nature was healing. Although I think we do have a different perspective, because as little as 200 years ago, nature was still. We were so reliant on nature for food production, for shelter, and it was often unpredictable. And because we didn't have the same opportunity or ways of preservation and things, nature could feel a little hostile if you had drought years and you couldn't harvest enough food. I mean, it was a beautiful connection, and at the same time, we were far more dependent on the rhythms of the planet than we are now. So that pulling away and disconnecting from nature and seeing ourselves as separate from it, happened as we began to develop those processes of preservation and production of food that, you didn't produce your own food necessarily, you were buying it from someone else. And, they pulled us away from the Earth, but they're also what now makes it so that the Earth is far less threatening in some ways than people once experienced it to be. So it's kind of an interesting conundrum.
It is, indeed. Now, Tracy, what do you think about the, what was I going to ask? I was going to ask more about how you know you're making a difference.
Well, there's a couple of ways. In the direct work that I do with survivors of abuse, the idea of reconnecting with body is very important, and reconnecting with the planet can be incredibly important because it helps. This is individually and in classes that I teach. It can help people to have a constant resource that is dependable, is big, is very strong, and is grounding and centering. So I think, from that perspective, it's about going to the Earth, connecting with it, and allowing yourself to develop a reciprocal relationship, so that you are taking in the resource of the strength and the grounding of the planet, and offering back your love and respect, and there becomes this beautiful two-way relationship that can happen. And beyond that, when you understand yourself to be nature, and when you sort of tumbled in love with the planet and with your own body, and you understand the beauty of the rhythms of that, you're less likely to make choices that injure yourself and injure the planet. So I have this secret ambition to have everybody sort of fall in love with the Earth, so that we stop making really, really silly decisions about how we use resources, thinking of them as resources, and we stop wounding this beautiful being that we live on. So those are two of the ways, and I lost the third one. There was something else, but it'll come back if it needs to.
Tracy, have you seen some of the recent movies about what's going on with the fracking and the oil wells and whatnot?
I have not seen movies necessarily, but I live in a state where they are fracking. So I am familiar with it. I advocate against it. And I try to look at it from all sides, understanding, that there's, that there are people who are coming out of poverty in areas because they've been able to lease the right, the gas rights on their land, but at the same time, it's devastating to the environment in the areas where they're doing it. So it's a difficult issue, and it's something that, as I said, I advocate against, and I also try and hold a compassionate space for everyone involved.
Tracy, do you feel like the work that you do is connecting you to a growing community?
I do, yes. 25 years ago or so, when I began to really engage the Earth from a perspective of relationship, where I understood that I was kin to everything around me, and I would tell people that I was having conversations with, trees and rocks and rivers and etc. It was a fairly foreign concept, within the culture that we live in. Certainly not, there are indigenous cultures for whom this is just the natural state of being. But I would kind of shock people when I said that. But now there are groups of people that I can be in contact with for whom that's a very normal, natural thing. And, if I say, oh, the oak tree outside there was once to say, and someone in the room will say, oh, wow, yeah, and that, firm over there was telling me, and, it's very normalized. So I think it brings me in contact with some amazing people, and I learn from them all the time, and have this beautiful exchange.
Tracy, what was one of your most recent, most powerful, or most enlightening exchanges?
My most recent, huh?
One that happened recently.
Wow, I have so many of them. And I think the most recent, most powerful conversation that I've had was with the two women with whom I have co-founded the Talk Project. It was one of those, three people got together, were having a conversation, and suddenly, this shared passion became apparent. And the Talk Project is all about helping or serving survivors of abuse and of addiction, and the families of survivors of addiction, by helping them to share their stories and sharing strengths and strategies for living a really thriving life. So that was an incredibly powerful conversation, and it happened out of the blue. So that's one of the things that I think is most recent powerful conversations I've had.
Tracy, I think I was connecting to your talking about talking with the plants and the animals, and that was the question. But the Talk Project is very important as well.
It is. Well, okay. So the most recent important conversation I've had with nature.
Sure.
One of the things that happens is I have conversations with nature on a constant basis. It's just a daily hum in the background of my life. And so sometimes they pop forward. And, my husband and I were walking today in a local park. And one of the things I realized was as we were walking, we were walking near a creek. And the creek, it's a fairly sizable one. And it was sort of humming as we were moving along, and not the audible sound you can hear of a creek moving, but I kept getting this interior hum, and I realized that it was just quietly reminding me of the vibrancy of it, even though we're in autumn. Like, it was saying, water doesn't go in as much. Water doesn't stop growing as much. Autumn here is a time of going within and preparing to sort of gestate the seeds of what you'll put out in the spring. But water kind of keeps this steady movement going, and it just keeps flowing, and it keeps flowing. And so if at any point I feel like I need the energy of flow in my life, if things are feeling a little too womb-like and too gestatey, I can tap into the energy of the water of that creek, and it will help me energetically to kind of rattle things loose and put a little more flow in what I'm doing. So I kind of love when nature sort of taps on my shoulder and says, "Here, remember this."
That's very powerful. For some people, for some people that could be for going to the ocean.
Exactly. And I think it's something that everyone can do. This is not something specific to me. It's something we all have the capacity to do, and the important thing is to understand how we're listening. So I happen to know that my intuition comes in through my body. There's a body sensation, and then it will sort of evolve into words and emotions, and imagery if it continues. So I think
it's different for everyone, though.
Yeah, it's different for everyone. So you might get images first, or you might get words first, or you might just continue with that, that evolving body sensation, or that intuitive knowing of just, ding, this is what I know. So I think it's such an important thing to know how you receive that intuitive information and how you perceive it, and then you can tap right into whatever nature is trying to tell you. And trust me, nature is always in communication with us. We just don't necessarily tap into it because we don't think to.
That reminds me, Tracy, about just this week. We had a very windy day this past Friday. We had high winds and lots of rain. And then as I was driving home after the storm, I noticed that all the trees, it's obviously fall here, were all fluffed up and brighter than I'd seen them in weeks. So I thought the sightseeing was over, because I'm in the Northeast, but I almost was going to go get my camera just to take pictures with the remaining light.
Oh, yes.
They were brighter yellow, brighter orange than I'd seen, at least in the past 2 weeks. And that was just incredible.
Yeah. So for me, I would probably kind of reach out and say, "Oh, hey guys, what's going on? Why are you so beautifully, brilliantly bright?" And, see if there was a conversation to be had. Sometimes there's not, but sometimes there is. And it's great to find out, kind of what's going on for them and share with them what's going on for you.
And you don't have to do it necessarily in the moment, but you can go back and meditate on that and reflect on that in your own time. Well, hopefully reasonably soon.
Absolutely. I think, for me, I'm very much in the moment, so I would probably pop into it in the moment. But I think you're absolutely right. If it feels, if it makes your heart sing, to take that with you into meditation at another time and reconnect with it, that is an equally beautiful way to keep the conversation going.
Tracy, we have about 4 minutes until break, so can you share ways in which people can reach you?
Sure. They can find me at TracieNichols.com, and my name is spelled Tracie. My mother just wanted to make it confusing, so TracieNichols.com is one of the ways you can find me, probably the best way. And an email address is Tracie@TracieNichols.com, just to keep it simple for you. And I think one of the things I'd love to invite people to do is check out my newsletter, sign up for it, because the first thing you get is 33 days of bone deep love, and they're just these beautiful little snippets that appear in your email box. And there's nothing to do or anything. It's just about being appreciated and letting yourself feel, deeply loved. And I think everybody needs that every once in a while. So that's one of the things I love to share with people.
Now, do they have ways to reach you on Twitter or Facebook?
I'm at Tracy TN, or Tracie T. Nichols on Twitter. And on Facebook, it's Facebook and then / EcoAudient, EcoAudient is how you find me on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would like them to know about yourself very quickly before we go into break?
Okay. Just that I love having conversations with people. I love, just being in conversation, being in communication. And so sometimes, people hesitate to contact someone who they don't necessarily know. Contact me. Friend me on Facebook. Find me on Twitter. I just love to talk with people and find out what's going on for them and answer questions and just be in contact. So.
And anyone can contact you?
Yep.
Do you primarily work with just women or men too?
At this point, I primarily work with women, but that's mostly because I can speak from the perspective of being a female survivor. I don't limit it to women, though. If there are men who are moved to contact me, I would encourage them to do so.
And can you describe briefly what the Talk project is about?
The Talk project is primarily around strategies for sharing your story. So if you are if you're a survivor who's really, really gotten to the point where you're ready to move into thriving, telling your story can be part of that adventure. And so that's what the Talk project is about. If you're ready to tell your story, we provide a place to do that. If you want strategies to tell your story, we offer those. And then if you are really just need to come and gather some courage, some resources, we offer free resources for people to do that until they're ready to step into telling their story.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
And what's the website there?
That's talkproject.net.
Okay, you can reach the Talk Project at talkproject.net, and don't forget about my book on Amazon, Your Life Counts. And when we come back, you can connect with us and ask questions about Tracy here on Awakened Radio. So come to awakenedradio.net and click on the live chat tab, or at Awakened Radio to your Skype. Thanks for listening.
At Awakened Radio Network, we're all about success. We know that working together is the perfect way for all of us to live. the success lifestyle. That's what it is. It's a lifestyle. And to help our listeners move into 2014, knowing that they can live this life, we're opening up our airwaves to some of the best lifestyle teachers anywhere in the world. A day-long event where you, as the speaker, are spotlighted by our station manager, Donna Devane, the Barefoot Guru, who knows how to guide you to your best sharing. Check out our website and get all the details at awakenedradio.net. Look on the tab where it says Success 2014. Perhaps you and your message would be perfect for our December 1st, 2013 speaker event, where we give people the tools to do more than wish. We empower them to live success. I'd like to invite you to add Awakened Radio to your Skype or email Donna Devane at awakenedradio@gmail.com to find out more about this 9-hour speaker event. Let Donna Devane help you share your message of healing, personal empowerment, success, whatever it is that you're passionate about. This is the perfect opportunity for you to share with our listeners all around the world, December 1st, 2013, where we help people to do more than wish. We're going to give them the tools to live success. Join us, Awakened Radio at awakenedradio.net.
Hello, this is Rob Ragazine. Please tune into my show, Simply Conversations. It airs every Sunday night at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, 6 Pacific. Each week, I invite a new guest to talk about his or her personal life changes and experiences. Please listen and invite your friends. You may even be inspired to take new steps in your life. Thanks for listening. We're back with Tracie Nichols at Awakened Radio. And if you have a question for Tracie, you can add Awakened Radio to Skype or come to awakeneradio.net and click on the live chat tab, or you can call us on the phone at 334-649-7204. Now, Tracie, let's get back to talking about nature and some of the particulars around what people find when they start connecting to nature. Like, do you notice a common thread? Or really we're connecting back to ourselves?
Mm-hmm. I think one of the first things that happen is people begin to get grounded in a very embodied way. So, because that's one of the first things I teach is basically how to sort of root yourself in the planet. And so when you get more grounded and you come into your own center, then you are approaching life from a much calmer place. So one of the most common things is suddenly, things are calmer. You're able to access peace more readily. And then there's that simultaneous opening up to, I hear comments like, wow, I never knew things were so colorful. Like it's almost as you can see color more brightly, as you were describing earlier. Or I never realized that there were that many different kinds of bird song, or, oh my gosh, the sky is this amazing color. So there's a heightened sense of awareness of what's going on in your home environment. But again, that's about your senses coming alive and about coming back into ground with yourself. So it really is that simultaneous awakening of being in connection with your body and being in connection with nature all at the same time.
Tracie, I like that description. That's what I tell people to do myself, is to find a way to step out of the chaos, the static, and find a way to center, to ground.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you're describing it, basically, that's the process. It doesn't have to be hard.
No, and I am all about keeping things simple, so you're not completely overwhelmed in the moment, because the last thing you need, and again, I'll speak from the perspective of, being a survivor and the survivors that I serve, it's easy to get overwhelmed rapidly, and sometimes being around people can be the most overwhelming thing, especially if you're in the beginning of the healing process. So you need some way to get grounded, to get centered, to find some peace, and to build resiliency for yourself. And it needs to be something that's not necessarily coming from people or needing to rely on people to do that. So that being connected with the natural world gives you that, that reliable connection to your own resilience, and it gives it to you it's simple, it can be quick once you've done it a few times, and it's always a tool that you can use. It's in your hands, and I think that's another really important piece is it's always there for you. You can do it in whatever way works for you. It doesn't have to be in, somebody else's prescription for what you're doing. And it just brings you back into yourself so clearly that then you can, move your attention outward again and engage the world from a different perspective.
Tracy, I like how you describe it as a tool.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something to have available to yourself in your tool belt. So not to forget about that, I guess, is important.
Very important, yeah. It's, I think that having tools, and one of the things that I also talk about is, there's sort of, levels or turns of the spiral, ways of being connected to the natural world. So there's, being in nature and just kind of soaking it in. And as you move deeper and deeper into the relationship, there becomes deeper and deeper feedback, but you can always, in any moment, depending on how stressful the situation is or depending on what you need out of life, just, 2 or 3 deep breaths, you've got your roots in the earth, and there you are, strong and resilient and able to, cope with what life is throwing at you.
Now, Tracy, what do you tell people who might say, I feel stuck, or I can't change, or it just feels so overwhelming?
That's where we go right back to the basics, and there's, start with finding your own heartbeat, just listen for your own heartbeat, and just that simple act of sensing for, so, you can listen with your ears, you listen with your body, you're just sensing for your own heartbeat, pulls you into your body and reminds you that you're alive. It is the most primal sound we hear in the womb from our mothers, but it's also the sound that reminds you, your nervous system, all of your senses, your whole body, that you're alive. Your heart is beating. And from there, from that very, very basic primal place, then you can begin to work with, put your roots in the earth, breathe, find the breath, breathe yourself into the earth, and just kind of bringing yourself through levels of being present. So I think the most important thing is to start with connecting with the body and work at the pace and the rhythm that makes sense for you, because we all have very, very different rhythms. We all have very, very different paces. So you can't push someone to go faster than they're ready to. And some people are ready to go much faster than you might think. So it's about, working with that, with your own natural rhythm. And so the first place you begin finding that is through your own heartbeat, your breath, and then the pulsing of the earth around you. And I'm not sure, did I answer your question?
I think you did. It's basically, you're saying calm down, slow down, connect to your body, begin to pay attention to what's going on, but in addition to going out and getting some way to medically calm down, but find ways like meditation to calm down and step away from the need for so much craziness in your life, so much static.
Right. And, I think that especially when you're feeling overwhelmed or feeling in need, feeling unsupported, unseen, inadequate, so many of the things that we can go through feeling, that one of our first instincts is to kind of reach out and see if we can get help from the outside. And that can be a great source of sustenance and help. But I think we also have to remember that the place where it's going to start is in us. So that just find your center. However that works for you. I use the heartbeat. If something else works better, okay. And just come into that state of presence with yourself and just be with that. It's okay if that's where you are. And to acknowledge that and to be, okay, this is what I've got right now. I can be present with my breath. And if that's where you are, that's where you be. And just allowing yourself to find that rhythm and continue to work with it.
Now, Tracy, do you learn a lot about yourself while you're working with your clients?
All the time. Absolutely. I laugh sometimes because I wonder who's learning more in the sessions. It's amazing to witness the strength and the courage and the willingness of the people I work with. I am astonished by them all the time. And I learn about myself by looking at me through their eyes, or I learn by listening to them, listening to the strategies that they come up with, through our conversations to help themselves, listening to the ways that they apply what I teach them, in ways that I couldn't have begun to imagine. So I think that's that's one of the wonderful things about what I get to do.
Tracy, can you describe talk about how you help women to enter everyday life?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, they come to you and they're stressed out, they're tired, they're disconnected. How might you set them straight, I guess? Will help them to begin to bring some tools into their life.
Right. We usually start with that, that place of, okay, let's find the grounding point. Let's find the way in which, you best connect with your body and with the earth. And it's not the same for everyone. So we work with, with that particular place. And again, it's coming from, okay, here you are, now you're in your body and you're breathing, and you have a sense of yourself. And we begin to work sort of in ever-widening circles. Being very sensitive to if there's a moment where we're pushing, if it feels like we've gone too far, and knowing that okay, you might be fine for a couple of days, and then all of a sudden you feel like you need to curl back in your shell, and then that's an okay thing. So you pull back a little bit, and you wait until those tender places feel like they can go in the world again, and then you ease back out. So it's really about being attentive and present with yourself and allowing the growth and the movement to happen, again, with your own rhythm and respecting what that is, and always, always, always coming back to celebrating movement, to celebrating whatever it is that you're doing that's working for you, and understanding that neurologically, every time we have a win, every time we do something, have a positive experience, the longer we stay with that experience, the longer we let it literally suffuse our body, the more neural pathways we build around positivity. And the more neural pathways we have around positivity, the more we attract more positivity. We're sort of hardwired for negative, to take in negative experiences and encode them, and every time we encode more of them, we attract more of them, or we become aware of more of them. So this is turning our survival instincts on its head and staying with the positive experiences. So it's really, really important that we constantly look at what's going on and make sure that we reframe it from the positive, not falsely, but finding, okay, where were you using resources in this situation, and how did you use them, and and how incredible did that feel when you responded differently in that particular situation than you might have before, and staying with that sense of success or positivity or happiness, peace, whatever it happens to be, and really allowing it to to eventually healthy restructure the brain, which is very important.
Tracy, as you help others, do you recognize their own power, and do you get a sense of accomplishment from that?
I do. I recognize, with each person that I get to serve, I recognize more and more clearly my own strengths. I recognize this may sound strange, but I recognize the positive things that came out of, surviving when I survived. And it's given me certain strengths that I would not have had I not survived it. And so every time I work with someone, I can see them more clearly. And certainly when someone, expresses back to me that they have shifted their self-perception, that they are, they're moving in the world in the ways that they choose, that they are happier, that they are more peaceful, then the sense that I get is, wahoo, that helps every one of us, because, the more of us out there having a positive, peaceful, life-affirming experience, the better all of us are. We've just set up more ripples for the world.
Now, Tracy, when you look at healthcare, what changes might you like to see?
In healthcare in general?
Sure.
I know a couple of really, really amazing integrative physicians. So they're medical doctors, but they're also trained as integrative physicians. So they've got training in alternative healthcare practices. They are aware of herbal medicine and acupuncture and aromatherapy and massage therapy and mindfulness and energy therapies and, energy healing methodologies. And I find them to be wonderful, and I would love, if there's a medical system in place, I would love to see that be it, that it be a truly integrative offering, because I think in certain circumstances we might need sort of traditional, the traditional Western medicine. I can think of a couple places in my life where without it, I might not be here. But we also need people who really, really bring that beautiful, holistic perspective. And so when we weave it all together, I think that's kind of the best of all worlds. I think there needs to be more emphasis on starting out well, which most of us do, and remaining well, so that we're needing, emergency services or acute imbalance services less, and really, really focusing on, how we nourish ourselves, not just with food, but with spiritual practices and with community and friendship and, rich engagement with our lives.
Tracy, how do you do that now? How do you encourage people to be well?
Well, I'm not a nutritionist, but I often will, we'll talk with people about how are you nourishing yourselves. And, for me, that connection with the earth is one of the most nourishing things to my spirit that I know of. So having people find that kind of relationship with something greater than themselves. And as I said, for me, it's the earth. It may not be that for them. There might be a different relationship that needs to develop, but, nourishing ourselves by understanding that we are part of something much greater, that there's a vibrancy that is infinite, that we can all tap into, that we can allow to infuse us and to continue nourishing us and sustaining us and helping us to be resilient. That's one of the biggest conversations that I have, really helping people find the resources that they already have that they may not know about. And certainly that kind of relationship is one of them.
So you're empowering them to be more self-aware, to be more cognizant of how they're nurturing themselves.
Absolutely. And I think that, one of the things that it's important to note is I offer tools, I offer information, I tell stories from my own life. I offer my expertise in how people can make significant change and stick with that change. But the heavy lifting, so to speak, really is in the heart of the person I'm working with, and all of the wins, all of the the shifting, all of the magnificent change that goes on really belongs to them. They take what I offer them and they weave it into something amazing that I probably could not have imagined for them. So I think that's the key for me is really it's about having people wake up to what they already have, learn a few more things, bring a few more tools in, and then understand how well-resourced they are and how powerful they are, and then watching them go with it.
Tracy, do you ever get a chance to follow up on any of these people?
Many of them I have known for 5 years or more. So, some, usually even if we're no longer actively working together in a mentoring relationship, they will still show up at classes. They'll, show up at events that I do. So I know many of them, yes, and the change has been amazing, to watch them continue to grow. I think that's the thing that I love the most is people are so resilient. They're so wonderfully elastic, so that they get these tools and they just go and do so many amazing things with them, and they're constantly changing. They're evolving. They're they're really, really coming into their own sense of radiance, and their own spirit and soul shines out so much more brightly. So I think that's pretty amazing.
Tracy, do you have any particular mentors that stand out for you that you hold in high esteem?
Well, yeah, there's one non-human mentor who's a very large mountain in Montana who I had a really peak experience with, and remains a mentor to this day. So I'm, his voice is always in the stream of my consciousness. And he taught me incredible things about, the first thing he taught me was that size has nothing to do with power. And how much pain you can endure and still remain strong and remain in great beauty, I think is the best way to put it. So he is one of my dearest mentors and friends. And then there are many other people. There's a woman in Canada, Andrea Matheson, who is a wonderful earth-wise woman, and she mentors me with great grace and practicality. So I think that's awesome. And then I read the writings of Terry Tempest Williams, and I've never met her, but consider her to certainly be a mentor. Her writings, her philosophy, the way she lives her life, encourages me to be more fierce, to be more, to speak out, to take a firm stand for, to advocate for, and change make for those things that I believe in, like, speaking out against fracking, going into demonstrations if that's something I can do, those kinds of actions to take.
And we haven't talked very much about your talk project.
Well, the talk project is really new. So one of the things we're doing is we're accumulating what we call the talker stories, and those are stories of thriving survivors, so people who have come through difficult experiences and who are thriving now, who really have, very rich, full, healthy, resilient lives. And so one of the things that I think is the most beautiful thing, I see burgeoning over there, is the number of talker stories that we're starting to post, and and the comments sometimes that people leave on them, and just knowing that even if someone isn't able to speak up, that reading someone's story of resilient thriving can give them the courage, to maybe make some changes or to see themselves a little bit differently and to recognize the ways in which they're being equally as courageous.
Okay. Well, we've come to the end of the show. It's been wonderful talking with you and helping people to understand how best to connect back to nature and themselves. Mm-hmm. Thanks for talking with us tonight.
It's been wonderful talking with you as well. Thanks for asking such great questions.
And can you share your links with us again?
Sure. So it's at TracieNichols.com, and that's TRACIE. So you want to just go over there, and as I said, one of the greatest things to do is just subscribe to the newsletter, because you get to have the 33 days of Bone Deep Love. And then you can also find me on Facebook at /ecoaudience, or I think you can look up my name probably and find me, and please do friend me. If you do that, I don't have a fan page because those kind of make me crazy, so I just stick with my personal profile. And then you can find me on Twitter at Tracie T. Nichols. And again, I love conversation, so reach out to me and, start one. I'd love to find out. I love hearing, especially after I've done something like this, people say, hey, wait a minute, so I've been communicating with nature all along, or wow, I just realized that, I was talking to my rhododendron bushes and I didn't know it, or, those kinds of things. So, I'd love to hear what has sparked for people about it.
Or that they can be in a better relationship with their pets.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
I don't talk about animals much because it's not my area of expertise. Janet Roper does that amazingly well, but I'm, absolutely better relationship with your animals, better relationship with your vegetable garden.
Yes. Well, thanks for joining us tonight, Tracy, and people can find this show in the forums, and I'll also post it on Facebook and Twitter as well. So thank you again, Tracy. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you. Now, we still have our holiday special going on in the Awakened Radio store. You type in holiday and you save 35% on checkout. There's no min or max. And I think Donna is also offering a number of special crystals at discounts that I saw being posted today. So you can shop at the Awakened Radio store and get several great ways to stock up for the holiday time, either through typing in holiday at the end of your checkout or looking for some of those crystals that she's been posting all day today on Facebook. We also have Thrive Magazine, and we have a November 10th deadline if you'd like to contribute articles, art, or poetry this month. And even since it's a holiday issue, we will gladly accept recipes, special recipes that connected you to your family life. So please do contribute these, and we'll put your bio in and a link back to your website to Thrive Magazine, and you can contribute free, and we'll link back to your website we'll also place your bio in the magazine. So try it out this month, see how easy it is to do, and you'll find that you really enjoy it and you can become a regular contributor. You can also become a sponsor of Awaken Radio if you've enjoyed our shows. You provide us a 30-second script or audio, and we play it at the start and of course the middle of all of our shows. And that'll be a minimum of 4 times a month, as all our shows are weekly, and most of them are an hour at least. So your ad will be played at least 3 times during each show, and 6 times if it's 2 hours. And then when the show is archived, we leave the ads in, so people will be able to download your shows from iTunes, and your ads will still be in there. So it's a great opportunity and very little cost to you to broadcast your business. And on a personal basis, we also would welcome any donations if you're so inclined. We're largely host and listener supported, so donations are always greatly appreciated. We're here at no cost to you. So if you can find it in your heart to donate, that'd be great. The donate buttons are at the top of all the screens on Awakened Radio. You can also find me at intuitionbyrob.net, and I have information about the shows that I do there and some of the things that I've been talking about. And of course, you can also find me at simplyconversations.com to see who the previous guests are and who the next guest will be as well. So tune in. You can find links to Tracy's site there, and you can find the audio for past shows. So thanks for joining us tonight. This has been Rob Ragazine with Simply Conversations. Thanks for tuning in. Tune in next Sunday for another talk on Simply Conversations.
We're awakened. You won't catch us sleeping through the fight in life. We're all eyes open, showing our inside and light so bright. We are awake.